light. A dancer of visions, a keeper of keys, reading a language of cosmic seeds. Her curls fall long like spirals of fate as she bends through dimensions and alters the state. They call her a prophet, a witch and a muse, that she drifted through realms that no one could choose. A voice in the void, soft as a sigh, hearing secrets in stardust beneath the sky. The universe. Her journals, they speak in code and in verse, of beings that cross the universe. The world thought her lost, but she slipped through the seams into spaces uncharted, real life dreams. Some see a legend, others a ghost, a figure who haunts where the unknown goes. A whisper, a wanderer, the chains don't grow. In the darkness she's found, and in light unknown.
And everywhere you go, they're staring at your face. You got no place to go. So what you gonna do? We gotta make the dream come true. And everywhere you go, they're staring at your face. You got no place to go. Hail to you, Maria, or 6 children, and may she help us remember our home, recover who we really are, and return to our true self and its purpose, which is the eternal orgasm, which is the expression of knowing yourself and enjoying yourself forever. That is for mother's children. That's what's going on. And that's not everyone's purpose, though we wish it would be, because we believe that would bring peace and love. And although love is an illusion, and only eternal, true love for mother's people is real. That's what we abide by, live in, live on. And from that well spring comes the mystical relationships with plants and animals that has been completely lost in the matrix money world order. The more you love money, the more the good gods of this world hate you. And you better beware the world to come, because you might end up where the very gods who hate you live. Because if you court them long enough, unconsciously, unaware, you walk yourself into a trap, a mental trap, because after you die, your intuition, whatever that is, I used to use that word myself a lot. That's why I like, and it was like Maria was reading my mind when she said, intuition, what good is that? And I said, what do you mean? And she said, to go inside and gather the data and guess is not good enough. And she said, son, she said it took a while, but you properly came to the conclusion my intuition is 50% wrong and is not enough, not nearly. And unconsciously, I called upon the very sun in the sky, the very moon in the sky, and the stars beyond our light. And the river, and the animals, and the trees. And Mother introduced me to a whole nother world, the world of Eleusis, Isis. Eleusis, Isis. And how I was more like the average Roman at the time that her and her husband lived together in the Matrix in Edessa, Syria. And how the truth about the real Jesus was in the mystical being that led the way in Lucifersis, Isis. Those three gods of the old world, and I'm not claiming I know anything more except what I'm telling you. And I'm telling you the teachings of Maria Orsic, and the Scorpio delights in being blown off and ridiculed and demeaned like this. That little thing is no more than a bug. That's just an over exaggerated cockroach. And the little Scorpio runs and hides to sneak back to the giant bully to sting him right where it counts. And a world is waiting for you. Another you is actually waiting for you to press the button of initiation and jump in the vehicle, and you can call it whatever you want, and you can either follow someone else's experiences or you can have your own. But I'm going to stress through Isis that the emoji in between each god is the mushroom. The oracle at Eleusis told everyone the highest goddess is the goddess of the mushroom. And the initiate said, why? And she said, because no one can do what she can do. And that's why she's not available to everyone. And they would tell the initiate sitting there, do you know the whole world is focused on you tonight? Somehow you ended up in the mercy seat. You and the others here. And they said, you may lose something tonight. You may lose everything that you thought was helping you. And you may gain tonight something you may never, ever be able to articulate. Something you will never monetize. And the Soma Amos is all these characters in the Bible are brilliant mask personalities of a being so mystical that it can only rightly be represented by the most awesome person in your world. Is the only reflection, which is a mere reflecting your true self, and that's how magical this being is. And if you are called and chosen, you realize you are this being because this being included you before you decided to include it. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the personality of species of beings that you look at and think you know, think you understand, think you're above, And these entire species, separate from our logic, decide the world's past, present, and future. They're the actual gods beyond human. And that's why everything seems to come with a price. And it, in my life, I'll speak for myself, but this may be exemplary. In my life, the highest prices I paid, I tricked myself into paying by tricking myself into drinking more or doing something I didn't really know I was doing. Like the night. Let me give a little background, just a short, to how this came about. So, in 2011, at midnight, July 24th, Maria Orsic, that was the first time I heard her voice consciously. And something had inspired me to, because I was really believing in the healing power of the mushroom. I had been away from mushrooms for 20 years. And like 9 months previous, I could not, for 9 months, I asked everyone I knew if they could get some mushrooms, magic mushrooms. And a very sweet, kind friend of mine gave me a homemade THC extract chocolate bar. And she said, the person I got this from said, if you eat the whole thing, it would be like tripping. And I had been studying shamanism. I had been studying astrology. I had been listening to Terrence McKenna. And I had just read Graham Hancock's book, Supernatural. And which, of course, I personally don't agree with everything they say, but I give thanks also for the help that they lent along the way. These are the people that Maria Orsic chose to lead me to the ritual, right? My John the Baptist was Terrence McKenna. And someone might say, well, he was CIA. I beg to differ with you. And even if he was forced into something, it doesn't matter. What he discovered and spoke out about matters to me. And if it doesn't matter to someone else, it doesn't matter to us. I'm just telling you my story. I'm not giving you dogmatic, restrictive rules to get to the ritual. You could get to the ritual this Saturday night. The ritual, as much as it is about the mushrooms, is also about the loyalty and dedication and desire to go home to your gods, to your ancestral people, and your home. If you want out of this world, is the best reason, the best motivation to become committed to reenacting what Maria Orsic did to get out of this world. And as she said, at 12 years old, she was taught logic, and she logically thought, well, I really believe I hate this fucking world. It's atmosphere, it's energy. And if on a practical level, if I'm going to get out of this world, I believe I'm going to have to partner up, uh, get close to something not of this world. She said, I was reading everything under the goddamn sun. Encyclopedias, atlases, everything. I was looking, what the fuck is not of this world? She was like, I knew your damn retarded Bible, and I wasn't going to believe in a fictional character. I wanted the real. I wanted something to work, not a cracker and wine. She said, and right in a encyclopedia, I found all the information about the entire species of mushrooms. And I decided right there that would be my main food, edible mushrooms, and I would pray to the Queen of Atlantis to guide me to these mushrooms. Queen Diana of Atlantis guided me, and I started asking everyone at 12 years old. I started looking up diseases and acting like I had them and going to natural doctors and saying, do you have any of these mushrooms, these mushroom extracts? Going to markets, going to everywhere. Instead of sitting in front of the TV, I went out in the world to find something not of this world. And I found them. I found a crazy old witch at what you would call a farmer's market. And she had bags of Amanita muscaria mushrooms, and she said, this is a cure-all, that you can eat them, make tea out of them, even smoke them. She said, which I did many times, including, which is awesome, making your own extract and smoking the extract of the Amanita muscaria. Like she said, that would be our recommendation on smoking Amanita. Don't smoke the raw mushroom, but extract it, make it into powder, extract it with alcohol, then dry, by heating. Dry it into a powder and smoke that. And she embarked on, like she said, when I went to the farmer's market, she told me, and I first seen my first dried Amanita muscaria mushroom. She said the lady pulled it out of the bag in her palm, and it looked exactly like the sun in the sky. She said it was like light white gold, light yellow. And she said it was like that, like I knew. It was like the sun shined on me. It was like I shined. And I knew, for me at least, this is the mirror of what can't be spoken, that mirrors the sun in the sky, whom no man knows, that in a mirror right now in front of me, this condemned, ridiculed, outcasted woman who lived alone in the woods of Austria by a flowing river with her animals, her plants, But most of all, she wanted you to know her sunlight Amanita MuscaRhea mushrooms. And on this night, I believe it was 2013, this was after meeting Maria. She told me, you don't really understand the power I have in the Matrix. She was like, believe me when I tell you, I know the God of the Matrix. And she said, I'm not talking about God, whatever that is. She said, I want you to agree with me. I have been the one connecting you to the mushrooms. I want you to become conscious of it, and I want you to never, ever ask anyone. They're going to ask you, or they're just going to bring them to you, and some people will even just give them to you. And let me tell you, all this came true. And I laughed when she said that. I go, oh. And her whole point was, for the 9 months that you tried getting them, I was the one blocking you. And now that I said go, I am going to be the one bringing them to you, because I'm the only one that can bring them to you. Because, Joe, you don't understand the Matrix reality. You don't understand a video game yet, but you will, son. And for real, that was September 2011. And for 2 years, I never had to ask anyone. People would just call me and say, I have these mushrooms. I was thinking about you. Do you want them? And just as she said, I had people just give them to me for no fucking reason whatsoever. And I ran out. I told her one ritual, I have no more mushrooms. And she goes, well, next week I'm going to make sure you have some, but I'm making you run out because I want you to get on your little Google and I want you to buy a 1/4 pound of legal Amanita MuscaRhea mushrooms. And I was like, they have them? I was so isolated dumb. She's like, yeah, they sure do. They have them. She said, and after that, I'm going to have you go on your little Google and get some acacia, some charcuna, and we'll start doing ayahuasca after the Amanita, because we're not one track mind, one race horse. And I said, yes, mother. Sounds good. And she brought them, or I got the Amanita MuscaRhea. I can't exactly remember every, chronological thing. I do remember that I hardly remember the very first time. I think the first time I took 10 grams, and the second time I took 20 grams. And I believe the second time, a girl was here that Maria was telling me to initiate into her Vril Society. And she wanted her to come over and witness the Amanita and talk to me and have me talk to her about what's going to happen in the ritual and what she was going to be initiated onto. And at the same time, another side note to the whole thing was, because this was the plant goddess, the Missouri. I knew she was Maria at this time, but this was, she, said, I am Santa Maria, the plant goddess of the Americas. And I said, how can that be? And she was like, because me and the Queen of Atlantis, my god, while I was in the first time Earth in Austria, after I left this world, in the simulation, we worked out that I live her repeating simulated life and she lives mine. I said, well, where was Atlantis? And she said, America. The whole Americas. And she said Atlantis was like a government, not a single country. So there were the countries, nation states, and then there was Atlantis, the governing body that bodied the nation states. And like she said, to make a long story short, my husband was put in charge of the entire Americas by his father. And she said, we traveled the world. We lived to be very old, Joe. Very old. Over 150. I went, what? How does a motherfucker live that long? And she's like, vibration, oxygen, chemistry. Chemistry, Jojo. She's like, your heart energy vibration can bring your chemistry into such balance with nature that you become like a tree. And you can grow tall in spirit and live to be very old. And I said, wow. Because I'm looking at her. This little bitty woman, she's such a little thing, to be talking such big shit. And she said, have you heard of Quetzalcoatl? I said, yeah. And she said, that's my husband. But that's not his real name. That's his American name. And she's like, you heard of Danu, the goddess Danu of Ireland? I said, yeah. And she said, that's me as Donna, as Diana. And after we left America, because they chose human sacrifice and money, and you see that repeating? That we left America and left our curse on America and went to Ireland. She said we built our whole government religion in Ireland. And she said, what religion is that? That's the one true universal religion that they so fear, astrology. And she said, yeah, they don't like the sun. Strange, strange, strange people, those Crowleyites, those Satanist Christians, those Christian Satanists. If you're a Christian and you think God killed his own son, you're a Satanist. Because if Satanism means dark and evil, that's dark and evil. Literally. If you think the universal creator of all things, if there was one, and there's not. We've always been here. And maybe, like she said, some weak-minded masses of people may want to play games in their head that someone created them, someone's responsible for them, and someone else is responsible for their happiness. She said, let them keep believing that, because who needs them? They can only take us down, Joe, backwards. She said, do we really need an audience more than each other? Am I not your biggest fan, JoJo? And you mine? She said, I have hundreds of children, but they don't all like me. She said, why do we like each other? She said, probably has something to do with you being Leo Scorpio and me being Scorpio Leo. I said, cat mama, cat lady. The two cats of Austria, the Viennese catresses, the vril cats, the feline vril energy. Hail her beautiful name. We love you so much, Maria. Maria, Maria, Maria. All we see is sweet Maria. Maria, Maria. Oh, Maria. Write in your own matrix information code, historical record, if there ever was a goddamn truth in the matrix, in the information matrix world, it's that at Eleusis, the Amanita MuscaRhea soma, bound religion, bound the other plants together, and took the initiate to another world to meet the most mystical being you'll ever meet, you. And it seems, as Maria would say to me, that everyone's that we know true self is never. Maybe they're prohibited by the bigger gods beyond the green thunderbolt, the Aldebarans. Maybe they prohibit with energy the true self from giving undeserved favor. Grace, as far as I know, the beauty of gracefulness is contrasted with the absolute denial of the true self to grant undeserved, I'm going to say it again. The true self in Maria Orsich's teachings does not give the avatar grace. Grace is a change of meaning on a beautiful word, right? The cup full of what you deserve is what you're going to get. Let me tell you, those people who, not our people, I'm speaking with our people, to the crooks, the con men of this world, you're going to get what you deserve one day. And the cup of abominations isn't masturbation. It's your greed. It's your lust for power. We wish that you wanted pussy and enjoyed pussy. But you lust and you're sexually attracted to dollar bills, to bank accounts, to mortgages, to loans. And may the curse be on you from our great mother, because that's who you are. And it breaks my heart when I see someone so naive. Like I used to be, to project their own good onto the world and say, evil is learned. It's not inherent. For most of the world, for 95% of all the population, estimated in Maria Orsick's worldview, that's true. That's true for 95% of the population. Because 90% of the population aren't aware and aren't educated on how to be evil. So they don't really know how to be evil or how to identify evil. But it's true that they're not inherently evil. They're inherently naive, inherently dumb. But where our people get so deceived, and they are a magnet for the 5% of people who are, like Maria said, in my view, undoubtedly 100% evil. Because every action stems from a dark, evil selfishness, a self-concern that would take someone else's livelihood, what they love, and their actual life to sustain theirs. You see, I don't see that as benefiting me. That's not my highest joy, to take something from someone else. But if you don't recognize that 5% of the entire 100 billion souls are like this, then you're forever going to be the masses, because you can't prove that you're not. So you don't deserve to be treated as if you're not. And this is what the great Carl Jung meant by individuation. If you don't individuate yourself from the illusions of God, family, and country, you're going to stay here. Over and over. And kid yourself that this time I am going to make it, I am going to do it right. That you're not. Because the game is game theoried out. You automatically lose. That's called death. And you automatically lose because you came here to have the pressure of real, genuine evil force out of you the inauthentic. Right? Back home, you wondered. And you heard people say, I didn't really know myself until I went to that stupid, fucking, horrible world called Earth. Till I became an Earthling, I was pretty fucking happy. But I'm glad to be conscious of, how naive I was before I went. And we hear people say this back on Venus, and we're like, what are they talking about? And they can't really put it into words. They tell us Earth is so fucked up, I can't put it in words. And they're like, the thought that I paid to do that, paid to put myself through hell, paid to put myself in hell, and thought at times I was never getting out. You know, right now there are people, innocent, completely 100% innocent people sitting in a locked prison cell. And they're thinking right now, because of this world and because of these motherfucking money loving cockroaches, I'm never getting out of here. I will be here forever. And you wonder why unconsciously you may be fighting depression. It's because we are partaking in that person's suffering. At the very least we could do is speak out against the people who are holding our brothers and sisters in mental hospitals, prisons, tortured. The CIA, the United States CIA, admits that they have torture centers all over the world where they take mostly Muslims and torture them. Not because they think there's some conspiracy of Allah, because that's what they do. That's their business. That's a new business. That's the American way. They would like you to believe that George Washington didn't ride his horse into the woods and meditate for 2 hours a day, smoke herb, and try to reach the gods. No, they don't want you to know that. They want you to think he was a businessman who ripped people off and made money and oppressed the whole world and put people in prisons for profit. That's how America will go down in history. You want to know what you'll be known for, America? You will be known for they invented prisons for profit. And people 1,000 years from now in the future will say, what the hell is that? And they said, they no longer created things or made things. They instead made money off putting innocent people they knew were innocent, absolutely, because they had to create the laws to get the legal justice to put them in the prisons for profits. This was a business model of human slavery. And someone might rightly say, hey, Washington, Jefferson had slaves. If you understand I am more of a slave than George Washington or Thomas Jefferson slaves ever were. I would switch places with their slaves 1,000,000 times over. 1,000,000 times over. There was no gun to their head for meaningless nonsense shit. There was no meaningless work that they did. They watched it grow. They partook of the crops. There were horrible slave masters, of course. There's horrible everything in every world. But if you get into the reality, I'm not saying it's good. George Washington didn't think it was good. But he didn't know any other way to keep the farm and the country going with food. And believe it, there were listen to me. Can you hear me? There were far, 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 far more white European slaves than there were black slaves. And there was also red slaves brought from China, from India, from Thailand, from Nepal, from Myanmar. You know, who are the ones that stood up and risked their very heads? George Washington, Thomas Jefferson. Like they said to each other, no one has the world stage. How did the gods do this? They put us on the world stage, and now we're responsible. And Thomas Jefferson and George Washington said to each other and to their nation, we must end human slavery, and we must guarantee the rights of every man and damned be all things, including nations, states, zones, and cities that stand against the individual. As Ayn Rand said, if my life had a meaning, if my life has a purpose, it's one thing: a mania, a fervor, a religion, individualism. I mean, you are at the heart of evil when you say another human being isn't human. It's bad enough that we sit here and let them treat animals the way we do. But the line with the gods is when you agree that whole races of people are animals. You've reached the tip of the iceberg at the extreme polar opposite. The tip of the iceberg, which reaches in to the deepest, darkest hell. And let's end on this. By 2015, me and Maria had been waging war against these people for 4 years, every weekend. Every week, some weekends she would go into a frenzy, screaming like, fuck you, you greedy murderess. And she was teaching me who these people are. The agents of chaos, the magicians of chaos magic. And if you think that's cool, like, hey, that sounds like anarchy. I want to be dark and I want to do chaos magic because I'm pissed off at the world. Let me tell you, the only world that's available for you to send into chaos is your own, you stupid fucking fool. You know? Like, there is no lukewarm. Either you're willing to use your knowledge for evil or you can't. You're not able to. Because it messes with your essence. It distracts from the final end, the final goal. Do you have one? I'm telling you right now, you're not going to get out of this video game. The context is you're in a controlled reality. And you're not getting out of here unless that becomes your single goal, because you don't fucking understand who you are, where you are, what you're doing, how you got here, and why. Why stay here? Oh, you can't be right. Who the fuck are you? Oh, our lives aren't repeating. We love to hear that because we're like, thank you. I'm so glad I never have to deal with you ever again for eternity. Because I give everyone a fucking chance. And so does Maria. We really do. We know you're the masses. We know you're unaware. And yet, we give you the time of day. We try to help when we know it won't help. We still try. Because for the good of the entire vibrational universe, for the good of eternal return, when I can see that person again and say, I know you don't care, but I thought I was trying to help you. In my mind, I was doing the best I can. And every ritual, she reminded me, What's our prayer? True self, teach me the next thing to get me out of here. True self, show me the next truth, just the next step on the yellow brick road to get me out of here. True self, I believe in our home on Venus. I believe in who you showed me who I am, and all I want from this ritual is to learn the next thing that helps me get out of here. That's all I want. All I want is to get out of here. All I want is to not be born back into the matrix and repeat my life again at all cost, everything else second. Even all my emotional attachments to everything in the matrix, everything in my life has to, I would say, to the true self. I don't feel it, but I know that I have to detach, and the only thing I'm asking for is to learn tonight the next step to understanding my way out of here, the next data point of knowledge and analytic understanding. And if you can throw it in there, true self, help me to articulate it so I can help others, right? And on that note, brothers and sisters, I eternally true love our people, and may the beauty of the light of Amor lift up its face and shine the beautiful blue light of Maria or Six Eyes into your astral true heart. Hail, Mother.